and I got up from our hotel. We were driving to the airport, and I said, "Can you just check and see if American Airlines said our plane's on time?" And they texted me. Well, they had texted me at 1:33 a.m. to tell me my flight had been canceled. That was scheduled to leave at 7. It was exciting. But here we are.
Did you make it home?
I am home. I am home. A very circuitous journey to make it here. But I kept telling everybody, hey, man, I got a class I have to teach. It's the first class of the summer semester. I can't like be a bozo and email everybody and go, oh, my airplane, I screwed up my air flight. So they were okay. Eventually we got it sorted out and here I am. For a while, I was going to have to go from Virginia Beach to New York, New York to Chicago, Chicago to Orange County. But it ended up being just Virginia Beach to Denver and Denver here, which is a lot easier. So, man, how you guys all doing? Everybody okay tonight?
Glad to be back.
Glad to see your beautiful, shining, smiling faces.
Yeah, I was gonna say, great to have you again.
So here we are. So I mean, you gotta just like visualize this. You are literally less than a year away from defending your proposal. Yeah. Exciting. Very exciting. I'm gonna wait like one more minute because supposedly we have 30 people. So I'll wait another minute and then we'll get started. So it goes by so fast. I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable how fast it goes by. So what other class are you taking along with this semester? You
We're
taking
taking
your concentration class?
our first concentration.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Lifespan development for the ed psych folks.
Right on.
For K through 12, it's instructional leadership.
All right. Cool. What's it for higher ed?
Student development theory.
Oh, yeah. Who's teaching that?
Min, it's Dr. Min.
Okay. Cool. Great. All right. So I'm gonna start class tonight with a story. Well, I'll probably tell stories a lot, but here's one. So some of you know who I've been very fortunate to have a previous experience with that I was the governance chair for 5 years or 6 years, and then I was the assistant dean for leadership for 5 years. And I'm retiring in 2 years, so I couldn't take on another administrative post. So like I'm gonna say 8 years ago, I'm in a governance meeting, and the governance really is kind of each of the 4 concentration faculty chairs. So there's one for K-12, one for leading instructional change, one for ed psych, and one for higher ed. And that and I was the chair of that group. So there were 4 of them and me. And I said, like I think 8 years ago, I said it would be cool if we offered an elective for students, as opposed to just making everybody always take the same thing, and give students an opportunity to look at some course offerings and say, hey, that I might learn something there that's going to be helpful for where I want to go, what kind of career I want to have. And it got shot down. I won't tell you by who, but it got shot down. And not by the dean, but by faculty. And so, yeah, less than a year ago, 9 months ago, I'm, sitting in my office in the beautiful Wade Phillips Hall, get an email that says we're going to offer electives to students this summer. And since it was your idea, you need to come up with an elective that you think students might want to teach. And so I had to put together this course, which was not difficult because it's something I think is important for every leader to have a good grasp of. And so did everybody else within a pretty short period of time, and then get all of that intel out to you all. So I'm just happy that you're here. And then there was a period of time where I kept being told, "Oh, you can't have more than 25 students." My fundamental thought all along was, well, wasn't the idea of an elective that the students get to pick what they want to take? So why would we tell any student, "Oh, hey, you get to pick"? Oh, sorry, you picked the wrong one. And so it literally, I think it took until like last week for some of you to be told that, yeah, you can take the human resources course. So, which was also a little frustrating for me, but nevertheless, here we are. Excited to see you all. This, the course is going to be very context dependent. You're going to have a chance to pick of the 4 case studies. You're going to get a chance to pick to be part of a higher ed team or a K-12 team to address some what I call core fundamental issues in human resources. And the majority of the time that you'll spend will be spent in class working together on responding to the case study and the prompts. And then you'll make a presentation to each other of no more than 15 minutes on how you responded to the prompt. It was kind of interesting. As I was making the prompts, I had somebody, I won't tell you who, tell me, well, why don't you just have AI write the prompts for you? And so I use a couple of large language models, and so I went in and typed one in, and one I had already done and read it and thought, no, I don't like that. I like the one that I did. So you got the human case studies, not the artificial intelligence case studies. Hopefully they'll be interesting. So what I like to do before we get started is, even though I've, worked with some
Talent-centered
of you in the
education
past,
leadership overview.
It's a brand new
Core leadership
class,
philosophy.
is to spend a few moments having you think about what you would like to have as kind of the expectations for me, for each other within the class as we meet, and for what you want to get out of the class, what you kind of expect, how you're going to treat each other. So what I'd like to do, before anybody, unless somebody has questions, is put you in some breakout rooms, have you come up with 3 or 4 agreements on how you want to be treated, what your expectations are from me and from each other, and we'll put together a document, and then we'll
Both.
talk about it at the beginning of class next week. So summer school is only 12 weeks long. I'm sure you're bummed about that. It used to be 6 weeks long, but the classes were 5 hours each, and every student took 2. Twice a week, you took a 5-hour class. Man, try to teach one of those. So, I mean, very, very interesting. All right. Yeah, you can access them all 4 of them. Yeah, you should be able to access them all now. But any questions for me before we get started? Comments? Good to see you all. And when I saw the class list, for those of you that I know, I was very stoked. I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. And those that you that I don't know, I'm really looking forward to getting to know you throughout the semester. So I'm going to put you in groups of 6. I'm going to give you 15 minutes and we're going to come back, just come up with 3 or 4 agreements on how you want to treat each other, what you expect from me. We'll parse those out and then we'll conclude that conversation tonight with just sharing out. And then we'll come back to it at the beginning of class next week. All right, I'll see you in 15.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, hey, Sophie. Everything.
Hello, hey guys. Ernest, you look so fancy. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We all had his class for semester, right? I was in his class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, I know you all, but I can't remember now which class we had together.
I know. Are you guys all in ed psych or higher ed?
I'm
I
in
know
it, like,
ed psych, okay. I
Very
know
hard.
Edwin, you're with me, but
Yeah.
yeah, higher ed. Mm.
yeah,
Mhm.
be nice, be respectful. Um,
Yeah. Consider
ah,
best intent when working through discourse.
Consider best intentions.
mhm.
Mhm.
And can we, I don't know if, I mean, he will not do that because we had him first semester. Like, just grade on time, have the grades on time because, like, we all had the experience of not having the grades back on time. I mean, I know he will not do that. He will not do that.
He
But
was, yeah, he graded on time, I think,
yeah,
right?
he graded
He
on
did.
time. I know, but he said like what are your expectations, right?
That's true.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because of him. It's not him. We all agree it's not him.
They waited to the last day.
I know. I mean that one. And the feedback was like one sentence. One
Mhm.
sentence. I'm like, seriously? After all this time, one sentence feedback?
Dr. Kim's feedback was really good.
Yes.
Huh, I did, yeah. Hers was like probably the best that I've gotten so far.
Yeah.
Hmm. On all of
And
the assignments,
and
but
I
especially the last one.
right. It was clear, like it was a class where it was talking about how important feedback is. It's like it's so nice to see that you clearly like read my document and have thoughts about it.
Right.
Yeah, Dr. Emma. Mm,
Mhm.
mhm.
To not let you down.
To let Ernest down.
Uh,
I would say also because this is really, we're doing case studies, this is based in like practice and all of our experience, like similar to challenge by the enough person, like there are no right or wrong answers here, right? We all have different things, places where we're coming from. We all have, I don't really know how to say that in a like bullet point.
Like honor each other's perspective or what we bring
mhm.
in group.
Yeah. So we have three. Well, how do we want to word Ernest? Don't let me down. Um, okay, we'll just do that then.
I just put in my notes what I had, and I think what I had initially with Ernest
Okay.
was elevated learning outcome, not just a syllabus.
Okay.
Um, but I also like the don't let me
It's just in parentheses.
down.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Don't let Ernest down. That's hilarious. I like it.
Specifically Ernest down.
Specifically. Ernest, do you work in HR right now? Don't you?
No.
Oh, you're just part of the union, though. Okay. Okay. You're talking to HR people.
Yeah, I was.
I'm trying to assume best intentions right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, there is a lot of crossover on pretty much everything that we're reading. I don't know. At least I'm kind of seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
And the second one is so late. It's still 10. Like she kept us almost the entire time last time.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other class for us too. We finished at 10:30. It was too late. But I mean, that's when the class ends. We signed up for this, I guess.
Mm.
I
Right.
feel like this semester, or at least my second class, and I don't know if you feel like that, Edwin, but like I feel like it's gonna be really hard. Like
Mm-hmm.
she came off like super strong. Like no late work. She said, didn't she say her nickname was Scratch or something like that? Because
Oh,
she's
the shredder.
a Shredder. There you go.
Yeah.
Shredder. Because she at USC,
Yeah.
that's her nickname. Yep.
Who was
Wow.
that?
Weird.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Part of our concentration.
It's our concentration.
Yeah. She seemed nice. I mean, I didn't get too much of that because I guess like I turned work on time. So, but I would like some good feedback because I'm with Salpy. Like in terms of what I expected from the because it's like a pillar. It's one of the main courses of this program too. And then for her to just write like light things about my work, I'm just like, am I doing APA right? Because they still put that too. Some APA work needs to be modified or something. But if I'm not like I'm trying to understand it and change it, but at the same time, the feedback is not the best on that. And then they provide templates and different things. So it's just I welcome her feedback to be more at that doctoral level.
Right.
Dang, see that's Mm.
Who who was that?
Nice.
She was good. Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm. Something
Mm.
like that. Ernest, I need a crash course on Notebook LM. I yeah, I just want to use it this semester. Start using it. I never used it before.
Yeah, I don't use it either.
Mm.
I don't use it. Do you use it, Josh or Edwin?
I don't. No.
I did have
I okay.
okay. No, you go first, Joshua.
I use Zotero to read my things, and all my notes are in there. And the things I don't read, I just don't use. That's how I organize my notes.
Mm. I was uploading it to Minds, to Speechify and Notebook LM. And then sometimes when I wanted to delve deep into conversation or more context, I would use Notebook LM. But then towards the end, I stopped because I just focused more on Speechify. That's funny. I feel it though. I have this UK lady, like her voice, I think is like just the perfect reading voice, and that's yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
sounds good. I like Josh's list. That's a long list. We came up with all those the last class. That's a lot. There's a lot. Texting others in group chats, sharing resources, brave spaces. Oh, that was popular, the brave space.
Mm.
Yeah. Let's see. All right, bye guys.
Bye.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So, hopefully that was a good opportunity to kind of renew some friendships and create new ones, too. Let's go with group one. What did you come up with? Ashley, Jasmine, Karen, Liz, and Sage.
All right. Our first agreement was making sure the classroom is a brave space. I know you're gonna type along, so I'll try to go slow. I remember that from last time.
Help the old man out. I appreciate it.
Practice confidentiality.
Okay.
Stay engaged with cameras on. And then Jasmine added in a great point of kind of engaging in different opinions, or like being able to share opinions that are different from the group to make sure like kind of voices are heard. And then finally, Dr. Cash, this is one for you, inspired by our class last semester.
Yeah.
We just want to kind of make sure that you continue to share some of your own experiences and expertise, because we feel like one of our classes last semester that a few of us in our group had relied a lot on presentations by groups for pretty much the whole class, and not a lot of uh, teaching on behalf of the professor. So we still want to make sure there's a balance there. I know you're good with that.
Great. Super. How about, thank you. How about room two? Brandy, Brandon. I did that on purpose. Brandy, Brandon. So I could say that. I'll say it for a third time. Brandy, Brandon, Daniela, Diana, Susan, and Theresia.
I'll share. We had being our authentic selves and also being respectful to each other, learning from others' experiences. Also in breakout, like having a lot of breakout rooms for especially people who feel more comfortable sharing in a smaller setting. So just having those brave spaces where they can share comfortably.
Great. Thank you. All right. Third room, Alicia, America, George, Megan, O'Shea, and Yang.
I can go first. So we just came up with two, one for the class and then one for you, Dr. Cash. So for the class, we said to just have patience with each other and give each other grace, since a lot of us are coming directly from work or might just have a lot going on right before we sit down for this class. And then same as group one for you, Dr. Cash, we said just if you can continue to share your experiences with us. I feel like we got a lot out of our fall semester class just from learning from your experiences.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Thank you. And room four, Edwin, Erica. God, this is just like Edwin, Erica, Ernest. I mean, man, Joshua, you're gonna have to change your name to an E. And Salpy. So, what did you guys come up with?
So our list was be nice, be respectful, consider best intent, and challenge idea, not for person. We also had a sort of elevated learning outcome, not just the syllabus. So I think that kind of reflects what other people were just talking about in terms of, sharing your experiences, Dr. Cash, that kind of thing. And then honor each other's perspectives. Even in our breakout room, we had people coming from different perspectives in terms of their relationship with HR, and that was a salutary lesson
Oh
as we were
yeah.
talking about that particular bullet point.
We'll talk. I'm sorry to laugh, but we'll talk about that for sure.
No, it was fun. I appreciate it, Ernest. And don't let Ernest down. That's on there too.
Oh, okay. I'll put
Yeah.
that on there. Let Ernest down. Okay. All right. And our last group, Alejandro, Arlene, Charity, Laura, and Veronica.
I pasted it in the chat too, Dr.
Oh,
Cash.
right on. Thank you.
But
You don't need to go over it again.
okay.
Oh, wow, you do. That's a long that's a lot of words. So, um, let's see. What I want to do, I don't know if you guys remember this. Okay. Oh, that's cool. I can get that. Um, is did anyone hear anything that didn't make sense, they didn't understand, they'd like an additional explanation of? And you need to read what Arlene put in the chat as well. No one? Okay. Not seeing any hands up, thumbs up. Yeah, okay, cool. All right. So I'll put these together, try to make them into a coherent list. I'll share it out probably tomorrow morning. Please just take a moment and read them. And then we'll come together next week and we'll talk about what they mean, whether we're good with them all, because I think that's important. All right, so here we go. This is a hard thing to say because it's only the first class and I already blew it. I didn't send this to you until today. Um, so I apologize for that. That means I'll send week 2 to you tomorrow, so you'll have it in plenty of time to look at it. So as I stated, the assignments are pretty straightforward. It's 4 case studies and 1 reflective paper. The real purpose of this is for you to think through some important pieces of human resources and problem solve together. And your participation is absolutely essential because human resources, that's all about people. And the reading is important, and I'll talk about the reading throughout class. And I kind of did it in the Goldilocks fashion, not too much, not too little. Hopefully, it's just the right amount. I really love the textbook. It's one of the best textbooks I've seen on human resources in a long time. And for those of you that have heard me say this, what I really like about it is that it's not very thick. You can actually read it. It should be, if you're moving into a position, if you're in or moving into or want to move into positional leadership positions, this is a great book for your professional library. So what are we going to talk about tonight? So I'm going to give you my definition of human resources management, share with you kind of what my bias is. I'm going to give you a list of what kind of the literature says are the basic principles. And then we're going to conclude with talking about how those principles impact the culture of your organization. And I think it's just really key to be always thinking about, the fact that people are what matters. We, especially those of us that have an intellectual side to us, and you all do, whether you're going to admit it or not, because you're in a doctoral program, for goodness sake. You're gonna be, one of only 4% of the entire human race that has done that. And don't get caught up in your cool ideas, your cool strategies. You're going to need them. But the bottom line is always going to be people. And I said this before, I'll say it again at least once this summer, and that is most people aren't going to remember your cool strategies. They're going to remember how they felt about you and how you made them feel. So just kind of in the back of your head as we go through some of this, cool intellectual stuff and I'll remind us, it's about people. So here's kind of my definition of what human resources management really is. It manages everything related to people. And so that means pretty much everything except for one or two things. I think you need to be comprehensive in your approach. And for me, it's about workplace culture and environment. We've all worked in, well, maybe some of you or many of you have never had this horrible experience. I'll just say some of us have worked in a poor culture and an environment that doesn't respect people and the work that people do. So I think that's, it's leadership, but it's leadership ignoring what I would say are the basic functions and principles of human resources management, and that is workplace culture. And then it does require knowledge, some very specific technical knowledge. We'll talk about that. It requires really specific tools in four main areas, which are your case studies. It requires getting and giving training. It requires being good administratively. It requires often a lot of coaching and mentoring. It requires legal and management advice. And it also requires talent management oversight, which we'll spend your first case study talking a lot about because unfortunately, we still don't do the job that we really need to do in finding and supporting the talent in our organization. So here's kind of my list. So I really want you to look at this and I'll talk about each one of these and give you some examples right out of the real world of kind of what are the basic principles. Provide individual growth. So one of the things you just have to do is have a human resources department or whatever you want to call it that provides employees with opportunities to grow on an individual level. Obviously as part of the team, as part of the organization, but people need to see that there's an opportunity for them to either get better at their current job, and that's good enough, or to get better at their current job so they can seek another job. Second one is right selection, recruiting the right people for the right jobs. Equal participation. Now, those of you that my bias is I was a union lawyer, so I represented unions as a lawyer. And then when I became a principal, assistant superintendent, and superintendent, I represented management. So I've got I think a fairly unbiased look at what equal participation means and what a voice means. There has to be fair pay for responsibilities. The data for fair pay still, God, I looked at that when I was putting this together again, and I looked at that and went, oh my God, the data is so bad still. There has to be, labor has to be seen as dignified. And we'll talk about that. Labor management relationships, teamwork, well-being, how you staff, who you staff, how you staff up, diversity, communication, accountability, being responsive to stakeholder feedback, safety protocols, transparency, and employee retention. So those are not all, but some basic principles of human resources management. So when you look at that list, again, individual growth, right selection, equal participation, fair pay, dignity of labor, labor management, teamwork, well-being, I'd have to tell you that probably I took, it was called personnel when I took it, in my doctoral program. I can guarantee it, I didn't hear our professor say a single word about well-being. Um, but I can't imagine at all having conversations about alternative work structures, work-life balance, recognizing families. I mean, all of that stuff, creating safe spaces for people to talk, think, be with each other, as part of a human resource management position. All right, so those two slides is kind of a list. So what I want you to do, I'm going to switch up your rooms, and I want you to identify and define and provide an example of two ideas that are missing. So what isn't on that list that should be from your experience as an employee and or your experience as someone that has worked with human resources or is in human resources? And then just be prepared to justify those two when you come back. So any questions about that assignment in breakout? Everyone good? Oh, Felicia, who's in the background there or in the foreground?
It's the youngest student of the bunch.
Well, welcome to the class. All right. I'll see you guys in, what time is it? I'll see you guys in 12 minutes.
Yes, Ernest is here.
I'll be back in a bit, y'all.
O'Shea, it's nice to see you, man.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It's been a semester. I was like, where is he? Where is he?
I know your boy was off the map. No. Ernest, what's going on? Charity, what's going on? I know. What the heck? Don't leave me like that again, y'all. Leading instructional change, whatever that means.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hmm. Hi, Veronica. I don't think of it.
No,
She's
I'm in person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in person. So this was the only class I'm taking online, and then I'll be on campus in a bit.
Got you.
she has a
No,
good story why.
not really. So I avoided a professor, Pascarella. If you're K through 12, avoided him at all costs. That's why.
Okay. Oh,
It was
okay.
it was either this class or his class on Thursday, and we're not taking him again ever.
Ugh. Same. I don't really care what class it is.
Yeah, I didn't even look at the content, whatever. I was like, we could be talking about it wouldn't matter. I know, great. Let's build a school. That's great, amazing.
I'm, I'm gonna share my slides in case it'll be easier to just talk through. Of course. Let me just make it bigger. There we go. So I can start from this one. Okay, so here are the first few things that he listed.
What was the question again?
Well, it's two that are missing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to justify them.
Yeah. So individual growth. Let me know when you want to move on to the next slide.
Is this from the reading or is our opinion?
I think our opinion slash
Oh.
maybe from the reading. I don't remember a lot of this from the reading. Huh, actually. Well, there's another slide. And so it may be on the other slide. I don't know. But
Oh,
are you guys ready for the next slide? Okay. So there's the other slide.
diversity, community, accountability. Hmm.
So Ernest, can you speak a little bit more about the employee experience? Because that's something that my brain was also starting to get into.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah, and he's referencing page 16 on Eubanks.
Okay, thank you. Which chapter, 1 or 3?
It should be chapter 1,
Okay, let me go back here.
page 16.
Same, same. I did just week 1. Okay.
I see, I see, I see, I see.
All right, give me a sec. Let me take a look at this.
Dang, it's hard to not. Oh, I have a slideshow. Never mind. Solve your own problems, O'Shea. Think,
I
sir.
think like
Think.
maybe something on like evaluation, um,
Mm,
just because that will measure the growth within the staff members.
mhm,
Then it also like holds us accountable in a sense. And so I remember like when I first started working, I was like, I never really liked evaluations, but I started to then begin to like them because I felt that it evaluated my progress and growth. And so I think having, those like, those measures in place could be very beneficial. And so I think that's something that I didn't see on this list.
Ooh.
I agree. The data collection part.
Yeah.
So in my school, our HR department technically collects belonging surveys to really get us like a like to get a feel for where the community stands from. But they don't do anything with that data. And so I think that's where we get stuck with that data, is that we can collect the data, but then what do we do with that? But I do
Yeah.
like the idea of like holding HR and the school accountable for measuring employee experience, by measuring some way of like seeing how the staff and faculty feel on campus.
Yeah, I think at other institutions I worked at, like at USC, we do like our performance evaluations.
Mm,
That's helpful for like if you're looking to get promoted or anything like that. But I remember when I also worked like at Spelman in Atlanta, like you had to get a certain score on your eval in order
what?
to get like a raise.
Oh
And
wow.
so I'm like, I feel like different schools
utilize it differently, but I think it can be used in a positive
Mhm.
manner in a sense, like to measure like growth within the
Mhm.
individual, regardless of whether you're getting a promotion or more
Mhm.
money or not.
Oh,
I'm an independent school person. And I've seen it back. Yeah, I like what you're saying. And I've seen a backtrack where they said they weren't going to use it to evaluate your
Uh,
performance, and then they not necessarily docked your pay, but then they did a write-up based on that evaluation process.
mm,
wow.
Yeah.
mm.
And so like I'm just like, ooh, but I do like the measuring performance experience, employee experience and overall sense of
Yeah,
goal. Yeah.
I think I had to like internalize it as that
Mhm.
when I realized like, look, like use this for you type of thing, or like advocating for yourself.
Mhm.
Like if you do want to get promoted,
Mhm.
utilize like this feedback and your growth to show proof of, hey,
Mhm.
I've done X, Y, and Z. Like, this is what I should be getting. Like,
Yeah.
I just had to train myself to do that because things started getting tricky. Like, you just don't know. Like, are you using this against me? Or are you like,
Yeah.
you trying to track things, trying to, so I've definitely feel it.
Yeah.
Ernest, public schools don't like my pockets.
What?
Just I feel like you found your thing though, and you rode that. You're crushing it.
Veronica, do you have any thoughts or anything to add?
Um, she was mentioning how she used to work for the university. So I work for the university. And so I when we get our annual performance, for us is based on pay. So based on a
Mm,
certain number, if you don't get a certain number, you're not gonna get the merit that you get yearly. So
mm,
we're always like making sure, because I work for also the Department of Education, so we're just borrowing the USC logo. And so for us, it's like that we have to meet our goals. We have to meet whatever we say in our grant writing. Have we met them? Have we not? How? And we have to be very descriptive. So our annual performance is very long and detailed.
mm.
Oh,
To
So
see
Ernest,
the
oh,
3%.
go on.
it is oh, sorry. Did he say you got it?
Oh no, no, I was just like to get our little 3% raise. I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
Don't play with my money, man.
George, I forgot.
Come on, Smokey.
Yep, exactly.
We
Oh, oh
is so
man.
wait, is the use of AI now one of these components? Or is
Mm,
that just a tool? Is that like
I'm
separate?
wondering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is how do we, yeah, automate things so that we can actually focus on the
But that would
strategic.
but that wouldn't fall under principle.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-mm-mm.
So
Are we
we're
gonna go
going
with the two principles that Ernest posted, the employee experience and
Mhm.
there we
Good for
go.
Dang.
you.
Hey, that's why we got Ernest. I'm glad I got Ernest, man. Like, yeah, we got this class is pretty much a lot of people from the previous classes, so I'm grateful. So,
I love Dr. Bing.
hey, hey,
I
hey,
love
she a
her
real
so
one.
much.
She got that award, man. She
Right? Thank
yeah,
you, George. You were
for like
there. I love
supporting
her.
colleagues, everything. I'm just like,
What award did she get?
so
A
I think,
mentorship award.
yeah,
Oh,
bro,
okay.
her class made me more radical. It got me in a lot of trouble,
Right?
but it's good, bro. It's like it's good trouble.
You learn to think so deeply.
Yeah,
She has a really
yeah.
high bar, but you will grow so much as a student, is what I
Dang,
love.
what class was y'all in?
Power, diversity, and equity.
Hey, all right. Well, welcome back. There's absolutely no right answer here. So, what'd you guys come up with? Let's go, just don't make me call on your rooms. Just tell me, what'd you come up with? What's missing from the list? Yeah, Felicia.
One one that we shared was evaluation and accountability. Just because and we had like different perspectives on it, but I was just sharing from my experience how I felt like evaluation is something that allows for, staff members to see their growth, track their growth, advocate for themselves and their performance, and receive increases and so forth. It also like holds us accountable and kind of serves as like a reminder of, the purpose of what we're doing, the work we're doing, why we're doing it. So it kind of just helps us like stay on track and, hold us accountable. So yeah.
Great, good.
I don't know if
I
anyone else
can,
wants to add.
Yeah, let's hear it.
For us, we came up with accessibility, that it should be something that's already embedded in the principles versus making staff have to seek that out. So that was something that was really good. And then to kind of, we had a lot of ideas, but the broad version of it was consider internal audits as part of the principles, because we feel like we always get evaluated as staff, but we never get that feedback to go back up sometimes, or if it does come down, like no one, a lot of us reflected and we were like, we don't really know what happens when we do get feedback to our managers or to principals, things like that. So that would be great to know that there's accountability, because you can't really fire someone for having bad leadership nowadays.
Yeah, I'm sorry we're laughing out loud, but I just had a conversation with somebody last week in a search I'm doing about exactly that. God, we never find out what any of that about feedback reflection stuff does. We do all this work and then where does it go? What does it mean? Yeah, sorry. That made me laugh out loud. All right, anybody else? Any other ideas? It's not on the list. I saw somebody, oh, Ernest contributed, the employee experience. Okay, so what do you mean by that? Wow. Cool. Great explanation. And I think you'll see throughout the don't let him down. Okay, Erica, I'll do my best. Um, the thing about good human resources that's not magic is a focus on human beings. And great organizations where you want to be are focused on human beings. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, about this idea of the willingness to work. If you create an environment where people want to be there and they're willing to work, magic happens. So yeah, I'm sorry, Erica.
Kind of to add on to Ernest, so I am on negotiations, but on the other side, sorry. Um, but I do agree. I think that we were talking about that. Like obviously HR is really hard because there's, especially K-12, there's lots of turnaround. So if the systems aren't in place, it's constantly changing. But at least as a site leader, I always talk about culture for HR. Like you're saying, if they're coming to a place happy to work, but I believe that starts at the interview chair. And so at the hiring process. So I like to call who I'm hiring. HR does it, but I like to call them and kind of just give them like the expectations, right? Clear as Klein. This is kind of the work environment that we're coming into. This is our culture. A big one is, here we talk, we don't talk about people, we talk to people. So anything that you need to come talk to me about, or any other colleague that you would like to have. So I really just kind of think like those ground rules for expectations are huge, and culture starts there. Because you can always, if there is something that we need to discuss, it's that was discussed when I hired you, right? So like coming back to it, remember when you said, remember when you were your best self in that interview chair. And so for me, in terms of like management, that has always helped when there are certain things that we need to discuss, or there are certain guidelines that accountability is not there, or that I need to help them with. But I really do think like putting, in terms of HR and leadership, I think really putting time and effort into like building capacity of others. But I think it's important to know that, feedback is both ways. Give me feedback. How do we grow as a team? And then also for the employees and staff, because yeah, leadership, you have teachers, but you always have classified. So just making sure that everyone is on the same page of expectations. That's kind of what we were talking about in our group.
Great. Good. Good conversation. Anybody else have anything you want to add?
I think in our group, we also talked about accommodations for anybody that's disabled, like benefits, things of that nature, retirement, things like that.
Okay. Cool. Good. Yeah. Yes. All right. Anything else? All right. Cool. Good. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the ones that are on the list that I think are absolutely necessary to talk about. Some are, so one of the beauties of HR is that um, if you're kind of like that structural decision maker, if you go back to Bowman and Deal and think about human resource, structural, and you like rules, processes, and procedures, it helps you do your work. You feel comfortable in that work. HR provides a nice place where rules, processes, and procedures in a lot of that work are absolutely essential. It can't be the Wild West. There has to be some compliance with certain things. But then those of us that like the human resources side of it, it's all about people and how you get people to do the work that needs to be done to benefit the organization. So for me, the one thing that I always focused on, and I'm sure that those of you that I had an opportunity to work with this last year have probably this up on the wall in your office, Cash's definition of leadership. Um, but you might remember that, I'm joking, you're not going to remember it, but just as a reminder, for me, leadership is about building the capacity in other people to think about and do things they never thought they could do before. It's all about getting people to do the work that needs to be done and giving them the capacity to do it. And some people, the capacity is just saying, go. Other people, the capacity is some more of a coaching along the way, or mentoring along the way, or peer engagement along the way, or specific training and skill development along the way. But if individuals see that they have the opportunity to grow within the organization, then you can get that capacity built and great things can happen. So it's all about, again, it's kind of a recurring theme for me. I'm all about intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is necessary, and it's unfortunately a significant part of K-12 and higher ed. But if we can get people to be intrinsically motivated, great things happen. People do the work because they want to do the work. They're interested in doing the work. They know the work is good work, not just for themselves individually, but for the organization for whom they work. And one of the best ways to get to there is providing autonomy. Um, and you know, there's great studies, and I would always have these conversations, never at the negotiating table, but maybe over an adult beverage with my union counterparts when I was on the management side. And that is, there is a ton of research that shows increasing pay does not increase performance. What does increase performance is autonomy, giving people self-directed autonomy, giving them an opportunity to have a significant say, not just in how the work gets done, but what gets done in the work. And then for me, I mean, again, acknowledging other people's perspectives. You have to remember when you're in these roles or you're thinking up through human resources that you are important, but it's really not about you. It's about the other person that you're working with. And so the way that you get there is by first understanding and acknowledging their perspective. And that's hard work. I still struggle with that. At my advanced age, I still am like, God, I don't, it's hard for me to acknowledge your perspective because I think it's horrific. But a really great superintendent colleague of mine, when he would have people come to the dais in a board meeting and get up and talk about and point fingers and say, you don't care, you should be doing this, you're Satan incarnate. That he would sit and he would say, he wouldn't just kind of draw the blank face and not understand. He would think and he'd go, God, that person believes passionately in what they're saying. And so their perspective is their perspective, and I have to acknowledge it, even though they're castigating me or they're saying something horrible about other people. So really important. So a couple of you talked about this. Erica talked about it at the end. Um, Selection, right selection, and you're going to do a case study on recruiting and selecting. So hiring for attitude, and here's my bias, is the most important thing. You recruit for skills. So some jobs you just have to have some skill set that's going to be necessary, that you just got to bring it to the job. Not all jobs are like that, but some are going to require that. But you really want to hire people for the right attitude, because the attitude is the key to an employee engagement and success. I believe it's better to hire a new job seeker with high attitude and no experience than one with a bad attitude and years of experience. I think, and when I'm talking about attitude, I'm not just talking about, hey, they got a smile on their face, they're happy-go-lucky, but they're interested in learning. They're a learner. Because if you think about yourself and the work that you want to be doing, you have to always think of yourself as a learner, somebody that's willing to continue to learn. In right selection also is hire slow, fire fast, and we'll talk about that. And try to not have your processes and procedures be complex. make them simple around hiring and selecting employees. And we'll talk about best practices in that. I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to come back to this breakout. Equal protection. Again, employees have to have a voice. And it needs to be more than just tell us how you feel, thank you very much, and then everyone goes about doing whatever the heck they were doing before. No. I would say that your culture needs to demonstrate that you care for employees, that you care for people, that you respect them. And I would always tell my really smart strategy guys that work with me, at the end of the day, your best bet is on people. Because at the end of the day, those people are still going to be there. And at the end of the day, they can take your strategies and do nothing. Treat all employees with justice and try to get away from external motivation. Um, you know, we'll talk about that more, not just today. Yeah. So here's the fair pay data. I mean, just look at this slide. Does that make you want to puke or what? Uh, Sorry that I used that foul language, but I mean, look at that. That's just disgusting. I mean, it is. So don't let anyone, I mean, in education, here's the problem, is that we have this white middle class institution that has primarily over time still a large percentage white middle class women, um, that are doing the work and aren't being paid what the position should be paid because of who they are. So your job in HR or an HR basic principle is to get fair pay wherever you can. Now, okay, so there are more female elementary principals in the K-12 than there are male elementary principals. Elementary principals get paid a lot less than junior high and high school principals, which are mostly male. Some would argue, and there's some good arguments for it, that those three jobs are fundamentally different. In higher ed, somebody who is the dean of students gets paid a lot less than someone who's the dean of academic programs. And you have to think through yourself when you find yourself in positions like that, where you're going to have some impact on decisions related to pay and representation, as to, am I going to continue with what we have, quote, traditionally always done, because that's what we've always done? Are you going to have the courage, and hopefully you will, to look at those things and ask tough questions of who you're working with? Why is this like this? What why did we have this? And that's really the purpose of that slide, is to get you to ask those questions, and not be satisfied with just going, oh, okay, well, I guess that's just the way it is. We're going to talk a lot about labor management relations, both informal and formal. And again, why would you want to have good labor management relations? Geez, growth, development, reduction. Ernest talked about a couple of these: reduction in turnover. Employees have extensive knowledge of organizational practices. You want to enhance motivation to increase productivity, create conflict resolution, reduce conflict, and develop employee loyalty to the organization. People want to stay there. Pretty straightforward. The formal actions, and we'll talk about them: collective bargaining, grievance management, how, if you're in an organization that has a formal contract, if you're in an organization that has significant policies and procedures, how you work through interpretation issues, what's benefits of labor management committees, what do they look like, how would you utilize them in problem solving, et cetera. We'll spend quite a bit of time talking about that. And we'll spend maybe 2 weeks talking about how human resources is really about culture building and who you hire, how people treat each other, how the work gets done, how individual employees' work is aligned with the organization's goals, all is reflective of the values of the organization. So you have to be thinking to yourself, okay, what are the values and the beliefs in this organization? And then how do our practices shape the work that we're doing in relationship to our values and beliefs? I, One of the things I get asked all the time to go in and kind of drop in and look at work that educational organizations are doing. And one of the first things I always do, and you should upon taking any formal position, is review what the values and beliefs of the organization are. And have a conversation around clarifying what they are and what do they mean, and then having an analysis of, well, here are practices and procedures that don't really align with our values and beliefs. So why are we doing those? Should we continue to do those? Um, I mean, it's incredible what you will find. You'll go to an organization, they'll tell you, we're looking to hire a diverse group of educators. And at USC, and we're going to be hiring, it looks like a couple of professors. Um, we want a diverse candidate pool. So what's our practice that reflects that value? Are we actually out recruiting diverse candidates in places where diverse candidates are? Are we simply just opening up the doors and saying, come here, and not actively engaged in trying to meet that core value? And that needs to be done in all human resource, not just in, not if you're like a human resource administrator, if you're, and faculty at most higher ed are intimately involved in hiring. I mean, they sit on the committee, the hiring committee. Um, I wish I could say, and teachers are to some extent, they're not in every organization, they should be involved in the hiring of colleagues, teachers. All right. I talked for a long time there. I apologize. Now I'm going to have you do this breakout. I love this prompt. Okay. Because this happens. I really want to hear how you come up with this. Oh, no. You just hired someone who's not fitting in, and they're really not doing the work. You could pick one or the other. And unfortunately, they believe they're killing it. They're great. So, what kind of processes would you want to include when you're talking to them that you believe are just, fair, and appropriate in order to do one of these two things? You can pick one or the other. Find a way to change their behavior and retain the employee, or begin the process to terminate them. And the most important prompt here is, how are you going to know that whatever you guys come up with is just, fair, and appropriate? So I'm going to give you about 18 minutes on this. And this will be the last thing we'll do tonight. Come back and discuss this probably. Are there any questions? All right. How are we doing so far, Ernest? We okay? Okay. All right. Oh, what? Geez. All right. Here we go. I will see. I'll see you guys in 18 at 6:40 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time.
Hey, everybody. Funniest joke yet, Ernest. Hmm. Well, I could tell you what not to do like the wrong way. Like we actually had a counselor that was exactly like this. Like she thought she was doing everything great and she was making mistakes left and right. And we would try to go to our boss to so he can address it, but instead of addressing it, he would just look for reasons to write her up. And like instead of addressing, and a lot of it was his end to not providing guidance early on to like prevent those mistakes from happening. And then him waiting too long to address the issue. And I think he met with this person and like his like what he said was, you may think you're doing great, but that's your point of view, which was pretty like terrible, right? Like I feel like instead of coming down on that person probably could have used some training and probably could have used like some mentoring, right? And maybe some intervention early on, right? Because in the beginning, like we shared the little things and then they just kind of snowballed and got bigger and bigger and were never addressed from the beginning. So I think if there's like some kind of coaching early on to help employees learn how to do things and they're addressed in more of a, I don't know, like a growth mindset as opposed to you did this wrong and assuming they did it wrong because they did it on purpose, right? Some people just don't know. I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm, that's good. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Like one of at my old school, they used to have like the HR will have something called like employee improvement plan. So if the employee is not like meeting the expectations, so there will be a meeting with the HR, the what's it called, the department chair, let's say, and we'll share with the employee like, okay, those are the things that you're not meeting the expectations, and we'll so you will be like we'll set a plan and we'll meet again in like 3 months or then 6 months. If the employee doesn't meet the expectations by the time frame, then they can just terminate. But there should be a plan of like working with the employee to improve their yeah, I think that employee, what is it called? I'm not sure if it was called employee improvement plan, but something like that, which was really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think um, combining, so Arlene was talking about like early intervention, and I think particularly if it's a new employee, you've got to intervene early and you've got to set what a PIP does, which is measurable and defined timelines. Because if you've got a new employee, you need to catch it before it's like ingrained into their practice and they think they're doing really well, and then it's like too late to tell them they're not. But also, if if they never learn, if it's not something that like gets addressed, then you've got to have something measurable. Like 6 months from now, if this hasn't been addressed, you're going off you're not going off probation or something like that. And I think part of that is like working with HR in your institution to work out, is it possible to extend this person's probation rather than just like moving them off of it so that you can make sure that their employment can be terminated if they don't improve or something like that. Because a PIP, I think, I always see a PIP as being a little bit more for a long, for an existing employee. And that's essentially to move that existing employee back onto probation. Like that's kind of how I see something like that. Um, and I think part of it is starting early and making sure that they don't just like transition into into a long serving employee who doesn't get any better. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. 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 And I just to add in, I do think like the employee improvement plan or the PIP does sound a bit punitive. And I think that that's the problem in our education system, right? I feel like we have these systems in place to prevent things, but they also make it harder for you to just, why can't we just be, how do you say it? Why can't we just speak to someone without having to involve that process? But I get that we're trying to have a system in place and be equitable, and that also protects the employee to have a process too, right? But it also kind of hurts people from being able to catch things earlier because you have to go through this big old process, or you have to wait for evaluation season to come around before you can actually give feedback. Why can't we be in a place where managers can give feedback for the sake of wanting to help their employees and it not having to be, I don't know, like a systemic process that they have to do? And I think it goes into the attitude of the manager, right? Like, what are your intentions, right? Do you want to help your employees? Are you doing this because you want to help them grow, or are you doing this because you want to just get this person out of the way to get your organization running smoothly? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like back and forth between balancing those things.
And I mean, I think two things can be true at the same time, right? Something like a process like that is can be a precursor to allowing us to fire you, right? But it's also a great opportunity to do exactly what you're saying it is, right? Like explicitly what a PIP is to provide you as an employee an opportunity to improve. And this is giving you a chance within a measurable period of time to look at what you're doing and set some standards and improve what you're doing. And like it is both of those things. Like it is a great opportunity for you to work with your employee and say, now is the time to step up and recognize that what you're doing is not good enough. And even though it's like putting someone on a PIP isn't like a something to celebrate, but it's not necessarily like a bad thing, right? Like I wouldn't say for most people, you should now go off and like look, quit your job because and look for new ones because you've been on the PIP, because there are opportunities for improvement, right? Like everyone has that in them. And like it can be exactly what we say it is, which is just an opportunity for improvement.
I work in higher education, so our it's we have a PIP as well, but it's not the managers where HR is talking to us basically. It's our direct supervisors. I kind of like that actually because is I work with my team, I work with my supervisor, so she is one like know what I'm doing, what I need to do instead of like passing like all the way to the HR and all that, and they have to get to know what I'm doing, what is my evaluation, how's that. So I think like we have so many different departments, offices, and now is turning into like every single year, like our direct supervisors have to give us like very direct evaluation. Yeah, instead of like sending to HRs, all that, have like somebody else to give you evaluation. So, but it's it's pros and cons. So, yeah, if only one person evaluates you, it's really sometimes it could be personal. So, yeah, it's not that fair. So I know, but the pro is save so much time to explain what you do and how much you've done, all that, I think. But well, yeah, it's complicated sometimes.
I think he said pick one. That's what I remember. Did you guys? I don't know. That's what I remember. What do you guys think?
I think it's fair because we're taking into the perspective like both the manager and the employee, right? We want to give the employee a chance, but we also understand there's a process and we want to give the manager the process to be able to either help that employee or be able to let that employee go.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yes. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that's a really excellent point because I had someone who I had to put on a PIP and like worked through last year, and it was I got I, uh, just I'll just say this because I don't want this repeated in a bigger group because Laura Escobar in my bigger group is my HR representative. I got like no support from HR because she's very good, whatever. But essentially, I needed to make all of my worksheets. I needed to make all of the documentation for PIP because HR wasn't telling me like this is what you need to be doing from our point of view, like these are the requirements of our organization and these are the requirements of like from a like legal standpoint. And like Ernest, exactly what you're saying, like like you need to be backed up by not just the like reasoning behind what's happening, but also the like, the legal
Mhm.
ramifications. I'll just add for from your list, my 0.5 from Arlene's opening thing. I think early intervention is the crucial aspect of this, which like in Dr. Cash's introduction is important.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Then coach and mentor maybe, or feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yes.
Mhm. Thanks, Ernest.
She knows, but
So, all right. So I want to hear. Um, really am curious. Now, again, there's no one right answer here. And really, this is just our first step this semester into thinking along these lines of how we can apply what matters in HR with employees who aren't necessarily doing the work that need to be done. That's that's the hardest part of HR, but the most important thing. So we're going to start with the Ashley Brandy Charity, Laura, Veronica, and Alejandro room. What'd you guys come up with?
I nominate Brandy to share her story since she had something very specific to a case study.
Oh, cool.
Hey guys. So I just shared a recent experience that we had with a teacher. One of our teachers retired in February, so we had to hire another teacher. HR actually cleared her at first, and then came back around. She had resigned in our district that same year. So then she couldn't be a teacher, but she could be a long-term sub. But she wanted to be a teacher at our school the next year. So fast forward, she starts working, and we see her walking down the hallway with MYOB in permanent markers on her forehead. And that's how she was telling the kids to mind their own business in class. And it took us a second because we talked when I went and asked her, "What is that on your forehead?" Um, she said it was MYOB for mind your own business. And she was telling the kids that because they kept telling on other kids. And I was just like, in shock. So, had to go tell her to go wipe her face off, had to give her alcohol wipes to get it off because it was a permanent marker. Um, and then after that, obviously, I started going in the classroom more often, giving her support with classroom management strategies because that's what she was lacking in. And at the end, because she was a long-term sub, we didn't have to hire her back for the next school year. So we had a job fair on Saturday, and she came to the table and she cried, just saying how this was the best experience of her life and she just can't wait to be hired. And so I just kind of had to break it down to her that we had several applicants and, we're looking at all of their experience and that we would give her a call if she was someone that we were looking forward to. So it was really my first time experiencing that. And like Charity asked a really good question. Well, the last question, did I feel like it was fair and appropriate? And I told her as my second year as an AP, and I don't know if it's just because I'm still kind of young and I didn't feel like we gave her the appropriate decision only because with the coaching, I was seeing some improvements. And I really just don't think she had the knowledge to start off with, and she needed the support. But my principal, who's 28 years in, is more like, no, like that's not something we should have to teach. No one should have MYOB on their forehead. And I get it. So I think it was just a learning curve for me to have to actually be the person to be like, well, thank you for your application and interest. However, that was just my first time doing that. So just reading that scenario just took me back. And then also of if it definitely sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit. I'm telling y'all, I still cannot believe that happened. MYOB will forever be something engraved in my brain. I don't understand it, but that was just our scenario.
I have never heard anything like that in all of my years. That is, wow. I've had teachers who have had mental breakdowns and done unusual things, but I've never heard of a teacher writing on her own face. That's wow. That was a good example. Um, yeah, what's interesting is that, you know, you have to you have to make sure that as you're caring for people, you're not forgetting the primary purpose of your organization. And someone like that might make kids so scared and fearful that even in a short period of time, it could cause some longer term impacts. So, yeah, wow. I'm gonna have to cogitate over that example for a while. Gee, wow. Okay. Uh, wow. I promise I won't have that on my forehead next week. Brandon, Edwin, Jasmine, O'Shea, and Sage.
Uh, we kind of talked about, sorry, I don't have a story as great as that. Nobody wrote anything on their forehead. Um, we were kind of talking about how we felt like we would need to do our due diligence and find a way to kind of like show that we put effort into developing this person. We talked about having some sort of process in place with a performance plan and maybe like weekly an instructional coach and some goal setting and kind of asking them what do they need, what support can we provide in order to help you kind of fill these gaps after the gaps are identified. And we talked about then kind of at that point, if you reevaluate and a certain time period has gone by and they still haven't met the expectations, then you might proceed to firing. Um, sorry, Jasmine added a great point about a way to make sure that it's just, fair, and appropriate is to have some sort of protocol and apply it the same way every time when there's a situation like this, where somebody isn't um, performing their job role like they should, and kind of just making sure that it's really clear. And then that would also help with like Ernest and the union balance there. No, they can know that you did everything in your power to try to make this person work for the job, but it just didn't work out.
Good. Very good. Anyone want to comment on either of the first two examples? Appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, if you have a really great HR culture, you have a great relationship with your union and your union officials, and you have those conversations. Hey, look, we hired this guy, and we really had hoped that he was going to do a great job, and we're 3 months in, and you know, he's not making it, but these are the things we're going to do over the next couple of weeks or over the next month, and we hope that it's going to work out, and then you come back and say, well, it didn't work out, and the union, if you have a good relationship, will say, yeah, you're absolutely right. That person probably shouldn't be doing that job. And a good HR process at that point says, well, let's help him or him. I've just used that as the pronoun, sorry, because I was thinking of myself as that employee. Let's help him find something else to do. Um, all right, good. How about the Arlene, Ernest, Joshua, Salpe, and Yang room? Whoa. Okay. Yeah, yeah. It's a hard thing, but a necessary thing often. So I would say one of the interesting things is when you're working with an employee and you put them on an improve. I'm just used the pronoun he because I'm just thinking of me as that poor employee. You put them on an improvement plan, whether it's formal or informal. They the and you set a series of goals or actions that you want to be taken. I've read so many that are so generic and vague, they're worthless. Like, um, your goal is to make sure that your students are engaged. Yes, that's what we want, but what is that? How am I going to know? I mean that to me is like horrific kind of language. So if you're involved in thinking about that and writing about that, and we'll talk about this when we talk about evaluations, how important it is to think through the specificity and be very specific and targeted in what you want to see. All right. Um, Alyssa, America, Erica, and Susan, what did you guys come up with?
We were chatting about like some real life examples. I'm definitely going through a ton of HR stuff, but in relation to this question where it says like they believe they are just killing it, an example, we first were talking about like determining either course of action is figuring out is that teacher willing to grow, receive feedback, and seeking to understand. An example that recently happened this year, I had a department chair and a teacher come to me like, so and so is really struggling with classroom management. You got to get in there. Like, I'm not sure he's going to make it. And he's like a probe teacher. And so I really had never heard this before. I had been in there. I'm like, I'm not seeing what you're seeing. I went in there, did multiple drop in observations. I'm like, he's killing it. He actually is killing it. But because he was venting to them, and
Oh,
just like a normal type of venting, they perceived it as much bigger than it actually was. So, like for me, whenever I'm looking at especially temps or probes, I'm trying to collect multiple pieces of data, like obviously talking to the person, but like what is the perception on the outside, right? Like what are you talking about with your colleagues? What's happening in your department meetings? Are you sharing these things? And then just seeking to understand before making the decision about terminating or helping you grow. I think the biggest thing in lesson, there was a really big HR decision that was made. We tried to terminate and there were just things that happen and documentation is the most important thing in this process, and of course being specific, but the documentation and the paper trail, like I have to remind myself because teachers do dumb things at times. I recently had our union rep call kids assholes, and so I didn't do a conference memo, but I did do, formal documentation. And then I looked at my, calendar. I'm like, oh, I have not followed up. I have not been in his room. Like I need to get in there. And so Erica talked about like whenever she does this, that she has a timeline and she like calendars all of these things in. So like you make sure that you're following up throughout the process to ensure like it's all in compliance.
th- did I hear that correctly? You had a teacher call students assholes?
Hmm. Don't be a bunch of assholes. He thought he was cool. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, if I say that, I hope you report me. Um, yeah, a couple of things that you said that are really great for everyone to make sure you soak in. Multiple data points, number one. And that can include multiple perspectives, not just yours. Um, and writing, document. We'll talk about that when we're talking about evaluation processes and procedures. And again, clarity is kindness. Being clear. Don't saying, hey, you're just a wonderful, really good person, but you suck at these 12 things. Because trust me, most of us will hear you're really a wonderful, great person, and won't pay close attention to the 12 things we really want them to focus on. All right, last group, Daniela, Diana, Karen, Liz, and Megan. What did you guys talk about?
I think a lot of repetition of what we've already heard, but one of the points kind of that we made was if we're doing that first bullet point well, we're preparing ourselves for the second one if we go that route. And I think it goes down to like what I think it was Alyssa was saying is the documentation piece. But something else that we talked about that might be a little different is looking at how do we support new employees from the beginning? Because we don't know what kind of onboarding this person had and the clarity of the goals and the work. So even in this situation of when we're finding that we're having trouble with whether he's killing it or not, is really asking those reflective questions. So setting up onboarding with regular weekly or monthly or whatever check-ins, just to have those informal conversations to check in to make sure that the goals are clear, what success looks like, what support is needed so we can provide a supportive environment for that person to grow and get the feedback. So looking at kind of those first systemic structures that we have in place to support somebody. And then if we find we're not being successful, but those reflective questions. So that way the employee himself is verbalizing what are the goals or what are their tasks, how is this person seeing or not seeing success, because that will kind of help with that two-way conversation and that employee being a part of the conversation as opposed to just hearing and picking out the parts that he or she wants to hear. So we kind of talked a little bit about that, but then just saying within all of this, having that paper trail and those follow-ups. So if we're finding we're not successful, then we've already set ourselves up for that second portion of it.
So thank you. Onboarding, the one big question is what maybe the guy doesn't know what killing it really is for the organization because no one has ever told him. So he's had to create his own understanding of what that is because his onboarding process was so poorly constructed. And Ernest is right. That has changed significantly with public sector unions, classified in particular. But the onboard, and we're going to talk a lot about onboarding. Onboarding is such an incredibly important and valuable tool that we're going to spend some time on it. Okay, so we're I don't think I shared this with all of you, but those of you that know me, I'm not going to go past 7, and it's already 7:02, and I apologize for that. What I want to do is I want you to read the last two slides 20 and 21 on the key strategies about defining and living core values, hiring for culture contribution over culture conformity, fostering open communication and feedback, understand employee traits, their mindsets, invest in professional learning, and recognize and reward contributions. I want you to be thinking about that as we start our journey in HR over the next now 11 weeks. Again, I want to thank you so much. We're going to take 1 minute of time. Before we do that for reflection, I want to make sure I answer any questions anybody has or anything anybody want to say or anything we need to do differently next week. Okay.
Excited to be back in your class, Dr. Cash.
Pardon?
So we're excited to be back. It was a popular class.
I'm excited you're here. So those of you that I don't know, I like to have a 1 minute of silent reflection at the end of our class, and for you to be thinking about what you learned from each other, from your own self tonight, from the materials you read that will be helpful in your work. So it's just 1 minute of silence. We're going to do that, and then we'll say goodnight. And that 1 minute begins now. All right. Appreciate you all. It's good to see your faces. Looking forward to the next 11 weeks. So, I, I didn't give you my email address or anything. What a loser. If you need to get a hold of me, that's my email address. Here's my cell phone number. You want to text me if you want to talk on the phone. So please make sure that don't hesitate to contact me with questions, issues, problems, not just with this class, but with anything I could help you with. With that, we'll say good night. Everybody fight on, take care of each other, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Dr. Cash.
Thank you.